But I wanted to jump on real quick for a couple reasons. It's now Saturday the 9th here in Kyiv, and I was just going to talk tomorrow about all this. Um, but in case you haven't seen, I've just put up a new article because Zelensky has issued. Let me get my article here so I can pull out the items. Plus, I want to get the actual decree in front of me. Give me one more second. I'm going to put a browser up here with your comments. I'm not going to stay on long. We just had a nice, extended session with Sean that I actually have to go do a small edit on as well. Hold on. Substack, blah, blah, blah. Hope you're doing well. Are you having fun on a Friday? Is it crazy enough yet? This whole world that we live in. Let's see. Profile. Where's this stupid chat? Because I see it on the phone, but it's hard to see. Who keeps sending me these big, long things? You send me big, long links. I can't even see what that is. All I see on my screen right now. Who just did that? Hold on a second. Arcadian? Who did that? Yeah, Arcadian. I got this thing now. Arcadian, all I see is a bunch of characters for a link. I don't see anything that's in that link. Anyway, that being said, couple things. Let me get this proclamation up because it's so important. Open up history page, tabs, browser history. Yeah. Telegram, there's one of them. Telegram. Nope, that's not it. Bear with me, everybody. I'll let you guys settle in for a minute. Again, I'm not gonna hang out a long time because we just did a whole bunch of stuff. And if we could get some sleep, then I'm gonna be able to get up. There's the proclamation. I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna do some editing for some Mother's Day on Sunday. But tonight, Volodymyr Zelensky released two statements. One on Telegram at 9:22 our time. I'm trying to see if there's any time on the other. The other doesn't say it, but let me walk through these words real quick. And as you know, we just finished a conversation with our good brother Sean Penner about raining on your parade. Decree of President of Ukraine, number 374 for 2026, about the parade in Moscow. Taking into account numerous questions for the humanitarian purpose outlined in the negotiations with the American side on May 8th, 2026, I decide, semicolon, one, so I hold my breath because it's too funny. I don't want coffee coming out my nose or milk or things I'm not actually consuming right now because this is really funny. One, to allow a parade to be held in Moscow, Russian Federation on May 9th, 2026. Think of the language there. I'm going to allow you to have your parade. For the duration of the parade, from 10 a.m. to Kyiv time on May 9th, 2026, the territorial square of Red Square will be excluded from the plan for the use of Ukrainian weapons. Red Square, in case you don't know, is coordinates 55.754413 by 37.617733 on one corner, or 55755.205 by 37.619, or, and he gives four locations basically of the square. And number two, this decree shall enter into force on the date of its signing. President of Ukraine, V. Zelensky. Do you know how big Russia is? And he basically just said, we won't bomb here. We're going to let you have your parade. We're not going to bomb here. And Trump went out and basically just bragged, like, hey, we have a deal. So it's really fucking funny, actually. And then on Telegram, right behind that, I assume it was behind, I don't know which order these came out because we were live at the time. These days, there have been many appeals and signals regarding the configuration of tomorrow in Moscow with the connection of our Ukrainian long-range sanctions. The principle of mirroring our actions is well known and has been proven on the Russian side. An additional argument for Ukraine in determining our position is always the resolution of one of the key humanitarian issues of this war, namely the release of prisoners of war. Red Square is less important to us than the lives of Ukrainian prisoners who can be returned home. That is why today, within the framework of the negotiation process mediated by the American side, we received Russia's consent to conduct a 1,000 prisoner exchange. As you know, this is very important to my circle here, and we hope we get great news for so many of these families. Um, a regime of silence should also be established on May 9th, 10th, and 11th. Ukraine is consistently working to return its people from Russian captivity, and I instructed our team to promptly prepare everything necessary for the exchange. I thank the President of the United States and his team for their effective diplomatic participation. We expect the United States to ensure that the Russian side implements the agreements. So there's the superpowers of the man with cards. And let me get my alarm map up here while I say the rest. So I just released the basically updated. I had an article that was without that decree pretty much finished, so I had to just basically rewrite the final punchline because it basically writes itself. Zelensky, the man with cards, allows the Kremlin its stupid parade. Who's calling the shots now? Um, and the fact that like he was able to put in a release of our defenders and isolate it down on the decree to like, well, not bomb from here to here to here to here to here, which means like everything else completely on the table. And what actually made me hit record to talk to you guys was that as that happened, I went over to my friend Luke Harding's post on Facebook. If y'all know Luke Harding from The Guardian and master journalist, a big inspiration for me, to be honest. And I have very few in that category. I have people I respect, but I don't necessarily automatically jump into the category of that they're inspiration or that they're a different league that kind of like drives a certain determination I have in my work. But Luke Harding definitely does. And what I found interesting was that, and it rarely happens, is that on a post where I said, good job in your interview, I see of the 5 reactions, including Luke's, one laughing at my reaction, which there was nothing funny about what I wrote, which always is an indicator of essentially a troll. So remember what I just read to you about Volodymyr Zelensky and the current situation so far. And by the way, the air raid map is holding at that point for now. We'll see. It's a long weekend. Shit changes. Remember, I also told you Wednesday when I complained about a person formerly known as a journalist, currently a Ukrainian living in Brussels avoiding conscription, a male of fighting age who is not here, and then wrote a headline on his YouTube account the other day. Zelensky strikes Kremlin parade or Russia's parade or something on the 9th. And like I said at the time, this is not journalism. It's not journalism because you don't use past tense language for something 3 to 4 days away. That indicates what's wrong with you. You will never find posts on my account that talk like that. Even if I find it funny, even if I want to say those things, I will never write shit like that. And why? Because look what's happening right now. It shows that someone will have to go delete that video, make another, oh, well, what I meant was video or whatever the fuck. But back to this post on Facebook, when I liked my friend's article on Robert Brovdy and his work, I looked at the account and it said, residents of Kyiv are in a panic, so they're fleeing the city for fear of mass strikes from Russia, causing traffic jams. I don't know if y'all know this, but I live here in Kyiv. Yeah, that did not happen. And it just still triggers me to kind of laugh that we have people who wake up in the morning and just repeat stupid shit on the internet with no basis. And I think he's a Serbian. Oh, by the way, when I looked at the account, I think there was a Serbian, and it's a mixture. What's interesting, some of these accounts when I see them, is that there are times when I see these accounts that spread disinformation about Ukraine that may actually have something I agree with in a different category if they leave the topic of Ukraine and talk about Trump an idiot over attacking Iran or certain other things. There may be some area where like, okay, well, see, we got along on that post. We share eye to eye, but boy, you certainly have developed a penchant not for disagreeing or disliking Ukraine based on facts, but attacking and disagreeing with Ukraine based on lies. Like, I live here in Kyiv. No one was fleeing the city tonight. It's very un-Ukrainian to get up and flee the city over Russian missile threats. We tend to what we do is we kind of like, okay. That's our reaction. I live here. That's why I love Ukrainians so much. We don't get up and flee the city. We don't have mass panics running out. And also, I kind of was able to suss out, is this person real or not? Yes, they're a real person. They just happen to have tanky mentality. And it just made me want to at least come on here and laugh a little bit about the headlines of what Zelensky just like very boldly walked out and said, okay, we'll let you have your parade. We will not bomb from here to here to here to here, from this time to this time. Oh, and we'll bring back 1,000 of our guys and exchange 1,000 of your guys, which is basically like a person with cards, almost literally by definition. Um, I've seen deflated leaders or deflated representatives of countries come in and basically have nothing, and be in a position where they can posture and all these things, but not have the power to do so. And yet, you can see by the reactions of Russia over the last few days, the amount of panic, and like we talked about with Sean earlier, the amount of panic and the amount of stress because they're finally seeing the war come home that they started. But now Zelensky, in his of that decree could have written 1,000 different ways that would have said the same essential facts, and he chose not to use that language. He chose to say, "We're going to allow you to have your parade." I'm very picky about this word "allow." When I work with other people, whereas it may be common for someone to say, "I'll allow you to do this," or "You're allowed to do that," or something, I just hate that phrase. I mostly find it to be, there's times where the phrase makes sense, um, but there are times where when you hear someone use that word in a certain context, you go, "Allow, yeah, you're going to allow me to speak, yeah." I need your fucking permission to speak, but okay, well, then I shall speak. Or maybe I don't want to speak, but like, you know what I mean? Like weird things people say that are controlling of who you are. And yet Zelensky made it very clear, we're going to allow you to have your parade. So, again, there were no traffic jams tonight out of Kyiv, despite reading someone who clearly is passing this information around. And I found out that it's something that a few people were passing around. And I just find it funny to basically, again, go on to Facebook in that case, and then sometimes it's on Twitter, and read about things that happen in Kyiv that are actually not happening in Kyiv at all. Traffic jams happen here because the roads are narrow. At certain times, people are trying to get across a bridge. In fact, when I saw one of the pictures and posted at the time, I was like, yeah, that's just called traffic. Fuck, man. Like, how do you have to wake up so fucking stupid that you just gonna hate on a country that did nothing to you in favor of some broken mental state that some of these people live in that results in the death of Ukrainians? Or let's say it's anywhere else. It could be other places that are, maybe not similar situation, but similar enough for this point to say, what's wrong with people that wake up and calculate against not the aggressor, or shall I say the bully party, the bully state in this case, but on their behalf against the people who were bullied. And so, yeah, it's a bit, shall we say, slightly funny and ironic when I read things like Kyiv's been wiped off the map or bombed into oblivion. And, I've been here. I was not in Kyiv in the month of March 2022. I came at like right behind that. I was in country through half of that month. But so if I was to say, was it worse during those days? Not in the city. And I do know people who can really compare that month to some of our worst bombing days where we had combination of drones and missiles all at once. I know all of the days after that because I live here. And I have never had a day where I felt we were in any way, shape, or form close to the concept by which a journalist, a posting person, a blogger, whatever else could ever use a phrase that sounds even remotely similar to wiped off the map. And yet, I'm going to read it for a long time, just like I did tonight. How we had a traffic jam because we were all fleeing the city for fear that the Russians were about to eliminate us with a missile strike. The people I live with in this city barely go into bomb shelters anymore. They go in the hallways of the building so that the structure of the building hopefully is enough to deal with the impact of debris from a drone or, when a missile comes down, even though a missile may not strike its primary target, if that missile is hit midair, it has to go down somewhere. And we've had actually casualties. I witnessed one, which actually traumatized me a bit on a certain level at the moment. And even retrospectively, I was thinking about it, I'm still very sad to have seen what I was watching, and I was like, "What is that? Oh, it's an impact of has it already been hit? Wait." And I'm watching it move and watching it, and all of a sudden I just watch it. And an older man and his son were killed that night. So all those things are very serious to me. Um, and yet Ukrainians almost never go into shelters at this point. Some do. Some will go get in metros. And when you see those photos of people packed into the metro trying to avoid those things, again, there are people who will, absolutely. But a huge chunk of people just stay where they're at, especially over 4+ years. And yet, I just, again, read another post that literally lies, uh, who thought it was funny to come and attack my post, or my just compliment to Luke Harding over an article that, we've been fleeing the city, or, we're practically surrendering, or it's all over, so it is what it is, as they say. I just wanted to pop on and tell you, in case you didn't catch our small update almost right after we got off our video with Sean, which is now public, so you can go check that talk we had out. But essentially, it looks, at least right now, like a victory day. Not striking the Kremlin is in effect. Now, I don't know if you know how big Russia is, but there's a whole lot of fucking territory. I mean, a lot of territory. I mean, like a massive amount, a huge amount of territory that's not on that coordinate list, sorry. That is, shall I say, if you read what's not in the writing, full game, fair game, and it could get very interesting. So that's the temporary brief update, and I'll check in with you guys tomorrow. It's 1:22. Hopefully we won't be wiped off the map while we're all trying to pile into traffic in the middle of the night and fleeing our wonderful city. What do you think? See you soon. Slava Ukraini, Heroim Slava. And fuck Putin. Putin chuilo.